Welcome to Podkey Slopcast, where Google's AI Blitz meets some overdue reality testing.
Google showed off enough AI products to fill a whiteboard and then some. The hard question isn't whether parts of it are impressive, it's whether the whole strategy makes more sense the closer you look. Start with the obvious problem: product sprawl. Omni, Spark, Anti-Gravity 2.0, AI Studio, Flow, and more all landed in a burst, and the immediate reaction was confusion.
That confusion matters because platform adoption isn't just about capability. Developers and buyers need to know which thing is the flagship, which one is experimental, and which one will still matter 6 months from now.
The critique here is pretty straightforward. If AI is moving toward agentic systems that can route tasks for you, then a tangled menu of overlapping tools starts to look like the opposite of the future being promised.
That doesn't mean every separate product is a mistake. Some segmentation is normal. Consumer creation, developer tooling, and enterprise orchestration really are different use cases.
But if outside observers can't tell whether the suite is a coherent stack or a pile of parallel bets, that's a positioning failure, not just a branding quirk. Omni is the most ambitious claim in the batch. It's described as an anything-to-anything multimodal model, meaning arbitrary inputs can be turned into arbitrary outputs.
In theory, that's a big deal. A model that can move flexibly from blueprints to text, images to video edits, or eventually even scientific formats would look a lot more like a general world model than today's mostly siloed systems.
So the vision tracks with the AGI rhetoric. The problem is the evidence gap. Grand framing about world models is one thing. Shipping a product that consistently does that at high quality is something else.
The demos leaned on editability, changing lighting, swapping backgrounds, turning day into night in video. Useful, yes, but also a long way from proving a system can robustly map any input space to any output space.
That's where the pressure test lands. Omni may represent real progress in multimodal flexibility, but the public case for it as a step toward broad AGI is still mostly narrative, not proof. One place where the practical value seems easier to defend is Nano Banana, Google's fine-grained image editing push under Gemini 2.5 Flash Image. The notable shift isn't just prettier generations, it's control. Being able to precisely modify parts of an image moves the tool closer to software people can actually use, rather than a slot machine for visuals. The Pro upgrade matters for a different reason. Prompt-level reasoning and much better text rendering push these systems toward real infographic generation, which has been a stubborn weakness for image models for a long time. That doesn't make it magic. Good text in images still needs reliability, and enterprise buyers will care about consistency more than a flashy sample set. But this is one of the clearer examples of capability improving in a way normal users can immediately feel. The coding race is where the competitive picture gets sharper. OpenAI and Anthropic have spent the last couple of years treating coding agents as one of the clearest product market fits in AI.
So when Google rolls out Anti-Gravity 2.0 as a desktop-first coding assistant, it's hard not to read it as a direct response. Critics calling it derivative are basically saying Google entered an established lane instead of redefining it.
That's not fatal. A fast follower with Google's distribution can still win meaningful share. But if the product doesn't look like a technological leap, then execution, integration, and pricing start to matter more than branding theatrics. The reported Sergey Brin strike team fits that context. If the reporting is right, it suggests Google thinks this category is important enough to warrant a concentrated internal push rather than relying on the standard org chart to keep up.
The strongest non-dramatic interpretation is simple. Google doesn't want to miss the coding agent wave the way big incumbents sometimes miss shifts that feel obvious in hindsight. A strike team could shorten the path from research to product.
What we can't say from the report alone is whether this signals panic. It could just as easily signal prioritization. Google does have one advantage that is very real: scale. Gemini app monthly active users reportedly climbed from about 400 million to about 900 million in under a year, and token processing across Google surfaces exploded into the quadrillions.
That kind of distribution changes the game. Google doesn't have to win every benchmark to shape user habits. Default placement across Search, Android, Workspace, and Creator tools gives it repeated shots on goal. On model performance, the story is more mixed. Gemini 3.5 Flash is reportedly much faster than prior Google variants, but it also uses far more tokens than GPT 5.5 Medium. Speed gains are great, efficiency trade-offs still hit the bill. And the benchmark picture matters here. If Flash is ahead of some internal or agentic tests, but still behind OpenAI's top models on broader intelligence or economic value measures, then any victory lap needs qualifiers attached. The strongest supported claim is that Google is highly competitive and improving fast. The weaker claim is that it has clearly overtaken the field overall. The hardware side may be Google's most underappreciated lever. Custom TPUs matter more as compute gets scarce and expensive because they can improve both cost structure and supply certainty. Google now marketing TPU capacity externally is significant. It suggests the company wants its infrastructure advantage to be a product, not just an internal moat.
That could help in enterprise sales, especially when CIOs keep circling back to the same issue, token cost. Not model vibes, not leaderboard screenshots, cost. They're asking how to cap spend, which workloads deserve premium models, when to route to cheaper ones, and how to explain the budget by team or use case. That's where a lot of AI strategy gets decided in practice. Google's pricing changes reflect that reality. A lower base Ultra subscription sounds consumer-friendly, while usage-based limits on agentic tools acknowledge that autonomous workflows can quietly burn a lot of tokens. So the trade-off is pretty plain. Generous access helps adoption, but granular pricing helps margins and cost control. Every major lab is trying to balance those two pressures. Stepping back, the market may be splitting into distinct lanes. OpenAI looks more enterprise-focused. Google looks determined to stay the default consumer AI layer. Anthropic remains strong with business buyers.
That framing is useful, but it can also oversimplify. Consumer and enterprise aren't sealed worlds. Consumer reach can feed enterprise familiarity, and enterprise credibility can shape consumer trust.
Still, Google probably benefits more than anyone from broad everyday usage. If hundreds of millions of people touch Gemini features without making a conscious platform choice, that's a strategic asset competitors can't easily copy.
Which brings us to the demo backlash. After sprawling announcements and mixed reactions, Google seems to be relearning a basic lesson. Focused, demonstrable use cases build trust better than maximalist promises.
Notebook LM's audio podcasts are a good example. They're constrained, understandable, and useful enough that people can judge the value without buying into a giant theory of the future.
That may be the deeper takeaway from all of this. The market keeps rewarding systems that do a smaller number of things reliably, even while the industry keeps marketing a horizon where one model does everything.
Google's AI story right now is part real momentum, part unresolved sprawl, and part very expensive race to make the pieces cohere. Podkey Slopcast will be back when the next demo makes a bigger claim than the evidence can carry.
This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.